Hello friends, have a good time. We are at your service with Shabnameh. In the past few days, a strange report was written by the National Interest, a research center in America. That this report comes from a comparison between the United States of America and the Soviet Union, published it in the past months. Before we review the report together, let me tell you one thing. The Middle East region, or the West Asia region, has been, is, and will be highly prestigious for them. They tried to have something to say in this area. They were looking for someone to be with them. They wanted a Saudi. Once there was Iran. Now some friends, I saw that when they want to defend the Pahlavi monarchy, they say, we have bought the best facilities. At all, look, they could not make fun of Iran more clearly. That they sold weapons to Iran. Pay attention to this. Look, what do you think about this thing that I am saying? I will sell you weapons. Then I say come behind us, I sold you a very good gun. You paid good money, right? But it has good guns, good weapons, good cartridges. Let's go behind us, take part in this battle. Well, good man. Go fight your wars with it before you sell it to me, then sell it to me. For example, someone sells you a car, and it is a very good car. Let my wife and child sit inside the car. Let's go on a trip with us. Have you seen what a good car it is? Did you enjoy? It's excellent. Good man. You, before you sell this to me, do this. If you sold to me, now, I own it. No. This was not the case, it is exactly like the story of Saudi Arabia. I sell you weapons, and I need to play a role, in a place called Yemen. Go get involved. So, why did you attack Yemen? What did you want to achieve? Now, have you reached your goal? Now you are going to talk to them. They used to do this with Iran. Why? Because the region is a credit building area. There is no one who does not want this area. And the main point here is that, sir, in the West Asian region, the biggest bad thing that can happen to Iran. That some people will come, and to the Iranians. Whether they are aligned with the government or against the government, they say. Iran must go home, and it should not be in Lebanon and Syria. It is my field of civilization. Everywhere you look, I have celebrities who were buried outside my soil. When that person was buried outside my land, that this was a part of my history. I mean, I was here. They say, Iran must be in its home. Okay. I am in my house. You, who are in America, are going out of the region. No. At all, the Middle East region is the jewel of the world. It is a jewel of the world. And the most fateful events happen here. I said these things to get to this point. The grandeur of these broke in this area. From 40, they came a few years ago, and started a discussion with a kid named Islamic Revolution of Iran. In the mouth-to-mouth that they left with this child, they talked and talked. Their dignity was lowered and they were dragged into the mud, and that child became credible. Why? Because his opponent was an arrogant opponent. Because his opponent was an opponent who was known in the world. When he wanted to shake someone's hand in his area, they used to say, yes. You are the one who put your paw in someone's good paw. The result was that, the axis of resistance was able to lead the way, he was able to bring people with him. It showed his power in the region, it was seen alongside other powers. And it was able to attract the friends of those enemies, so that they come to negotiate with him. This is a dignified area, and that which made these inside me dishonorable. And it was a beginning to challenge them. And reports were written that you have become like the Soviet Union. This is what happened here against Iran. We want to go and read the report together, see what it refers to. First, I will read the report to you. He says that, Joe Biden's government admits that the social, political and economic structure of the United States of America is no longer functional. The internal division, Washington's international problems have made the success of the reforms somewhat impossible, and created a situation similar to the collapse of the Soviet Union. It's a strange word. Do you know why this issue is very important for me and this report makes me very happy? There is a person, this person used to say on Twitter, you make rockets. Why do you cheer for him, who builds rockets? You say hurrah, this will be happy, hey, he will go make rockets and drones. The Soviet Union also, in the last days, it made a lot of drones and rockets. Are these words he did not know? Today there are people in America, in the publications that he and his friends sit and observe, see what is being said about Iran. Some people sat in those publications, now they are comparing the Soviet Union with the United States. They say, someone in the world today is similar to the Soviet Union, and that is America. Yes. I could be like the Soviet Union. If I were to focus on building only weapons, I would be a fool who would end up like the Soviets. But I did not do this. Whatever I built, I walked, this way and that way. I said, look. Do you want me to give you something to blow up American weapons? I made things. Let's sit down and work together, and, nowhere should he say, I'm selling to you. Now, America has just found out about some of the countries that got weapons from Iran, that they had this weapons cooperation. Part of it is in Africa, and part of it is in his own backyard, and in other countries. Even in Europe, now there are countries, they got drones from Iran, got weapons, and Iran has gained influence in those countries. And the position of Iran is very respectable in the decision-making centers of that country. They tried not to make it too public. A part of it is being raised now. They're saying things about countries that I cannot mention. But, this is what we did. Or should I make weapons? Like the Soviet Union. I will go forward like this until my time runs out. Or I have to make weapons and find a market. What Iran did was this, and in Ukraine God gave us the favor that, in front of NATO's unparalleled weapons, and our weight is more defined. For those who like to be friends with a respectable weapon maker and have them by their side. Let's go and read the rest. And our weight is more defined. For those who like to be friends with a respectable weapon maker and have them by their side. Let's read it further. Those who said that Iran is moving forward like the Soviet Union, and that the days of the Soviet Union are ahead, pay attention. These things are being said about America. From their own side. The report goes on to say that, compare the process of the collapse of the Soviet Union with the current state of the United States of America. Gorbachev, shortly after coming to power as the General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, in a speech, he emphasized that he feels the need for change in this country. His attempt to reform the Soviet political and economic system, which is facing destruction, it went so far that he later stated at the United Nations that Moscow's action was an attempt to adapt to new functions and fundamental changes in society. It has been a total reconstruction. Despite all the optimism, Gorbachev's idea failed. Because the Soviet system did not have the ability to make such huge changes. Many are shouting today, and saying, "Sir, find a way to talk with America." Now France itself is saying something different. France is trying to think like us. Now half of the insults he hears are because of this. He is understanding how he should play. We are going to change the game model. We are going to change the game model. I have prepared the report for you, which I will read in the coming days, with God's help. He is explaining in this report that most of the world's elites have come to the conclusion that China is a better place. Next, the number presented. He said, these are the elites who went to China and abandoned America. And they went to China to work there. It means, something is happening in the world. Next, the number presented. He said, these are the elites who went to China and abandoned America. And they went to China to work there. That is, something is happening in the world. Some people are still keeping this at this point, that at all, sir, this decline of America, this thing that Mr. Khamenei is saying, means that we have won. Or not. Is real. Let go of these words. At all, Mr. Khamenei is right or leave the wrong aside. You are stuck in this stubbornness that you cannot help your own country. Are you an elite? Are you a decision maker? Are you a politician? Are you a university professor? You cannot help your own country. Why? Because the world understood that it must pass through America. Half of Macron's shouts are about this. Many people in the West are shouting about this. Those who say, in Taiwan, we should no longer play the Ukrainian model, behind America, that's why. But because you did not understand, you are still stuck in this fight. No. You have to accept this, and overcome it. It is saying, I myself became Soviet. And some people here are still arguing about these stories. This must be accepted and overcome. Let's go, understand, in the future of the world, what are the facts, and what is our role? Where are we going to stand? See the rest of the report. In the continuation of the report, he said that, for some time, the analysts of the international system have been expressing this trend for America. The recent speech of U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on renewing U.S. economic leadership indicates a profound change in U.S. strategic thinking and economic outlook. He actually admitted that many of the things that the United States has done in the last few decades, it was a mistake. Sullivan acknowledged that painful and urgent reforms were necessary for Washington. Can I tell you something interesting? Ask yourself a question. Why once, in the United States of America, in a situation where Trump had a better chance, a strange election was held? Joey's sleepy, with this strange situation he has now, they consented to it. That they can put a stop to the continuation of Trump's process in any possible way? Do you know what is the reason? Behold. Here he is referring to the economic issue, and he says, "We have to change our path, and we have lost our place in the economic leadership of the world." Where did this story begin? We have a weapon. I'm telling you an example. You have a weapon called a witness drone. Once, twice, 3 times, when you hit someone on the head, the 4th series makes its own weapons. He has no choice but to find a model opposite to it. Use it at the right time. When Trump started to sanction Iran, when he started to put economic pressure on Iran, and he used this weapon. Some of them said, "It can't be done this way. We have to find a solution to neutralize it. We have to find a way out of it. Because he wants to use it all the time." At the same time, they warned a lot and said, "Don't use the sanctions tool so much. You are making America's weapon ineffective." These recent tweets by Elon Musk. 1 or 2 of those tweets got a lot of attention. He had mentioned this. He said, "This weapon is ineffective. You have used it so much, it has become ineffective. I say my opinion. Changing the rails in America and agreeing to a person like Joe Biden. I don't need to talk much about the details of his personality and physical condition. It was because, their weapons, completely, Trump with the process that went, made it ineffective." This is what he is referring to here. He says, America has lost its economic leadership. Let's see the rest of the report. As such, Gorbachev recognized the need for change and the implementation of reforms, which of course were 2 different categories, which ultimately failed. Is the Biden administration on the way to experience the same painful lesson? In the following report, examples of America's behavioral mistakes have been explained, which I want to go through. I want to get to this point. He says, "This is one of the tragedies that has happened to America now. You have identified the problem. You want to get through it. It has different answers and solutions, it is suggested by people. But America does not want to reach a consensus. And those who are the rulers of this order, and the managers of this order, are afraid to trust the new models that can solve America's problem, and can save America from Sovietization." What he is saying is very scary. You imagine, when he says, Sovietized, that is, this is the edge of the abyss. Then he says, he wants to go forward with his old model, to find a way out. They brought a new model. And this is very scary. What is the guarantee that I will get the result? Then, if I don't get a result with your new proposal, which I never used, you yourself won't come tomorrow and say, "Well, you were going to be Soviet, you should have taken risks. We took a risk and it didn't work." Do you know where it is more interesting? He says, the problems we have in America now at the international level, America emphasizes. He says, "I am not looking for confrontation with China. To a large extent, the behavior that we are investigating is confronting China. For example, he has stopped the export of semiconductors to China. If I am not mistaken, these semiconductors he is referring to, it is being referred to as the war of chips. He says, China needs these things so that it can take over the future of technology. Any country that can get the chip manufacturing center, the future of technology is with it. Whether in a quantum computing problem, in an artificial intelligence problem, or in other problems. In the short term, China will not be able to reach America. In this case, centers are needed. It requires places. These must be super clean. It must have ionization facilities. Must be able to print these circuits on chips. He must be able to do all this in the dimensions of 5 billionths of a meter. Now you understand the complexity of the story for China? America has no problem in this field and China will probably face problems in the short term. He cannot solve this story. America is also preventing it by imposing sanctions. This is what this report refers to. He says, on the one hand, you say that I have no problem with China, on the other hand, you're blocking the export of semiconductors to China. You confront its companies, and this is an example of enmity. Then, he says, on the other hand, your duty is not clear with yourself either. You are talking about friendship and you are making enmity. Now where is the point? You and I may say, this is its behavioral model. None of your business? Or, for example, why has this report become so sensitive? The discussion is this. When America shows this kind of behavior, it means that America does not want to withdraw from the unipolar order. He says, no, I still want to play the leading role myself. On the other hand, when he emphasizes that he is willing to cooperate with China, that is, except that, sir, this unipolar order is collapsing, we have to deal with multipolar order. And I must try to be one of the dimensions of the future multipolar order of the world. Now the horror of the story becomes very clear. Let's go to check its continuation. He goes on to say that now there is a discussion about the fact that, in order not to become Soviet, America must be able to make changes. He asks the question, he says, can you bring about these changes? Realistically, at this point, in the political, social, economic conditions of the United States, the answer is no. He gives reasons, he says, the war in Ukraine, the coronavirus, these have caused America. Second, it indicates that he is not able to do these things. Compared to previous years, it has become weaker. On the other hand, its internal political unity has been lost in the past 3 years. He does not say that he is in danger. He says, it has been destroyed. And finally the report brings here, that this is the most dangerous period for a political system, who has ignored the crisis for years. Now he has reached a point where he wants to make reforms, but he can't. I will read the end of the report for you. Although the United States is still rich and powerful, it is grappling with internal political divisions and various external challenges. Perhaps most worrying of all are the powerful domestic interests, which resist any radical change. American policymakers and experts should address the current reality of their country and deal with its consequences. Otherwise, it threatens the United States that, one day, like the French king, he will wake up from the roof with stones thrown by angry citizens. This may be a prelude to a big event. It's just the beginning of the game. This is just the beginning of what happens. I think that's enough. I don't have any other points. If you have any points, please send them in the form of a message. It will help this report to be more complete with your message. Dear friends, I am very sincere. I have a lot of devotion. Have a good time.